Hey, what's up, bro?
Hey, Blue, how are you?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay.
The new sweatshirt. You look completely different in the white. Stephanie's still connecting to audio, I think. Oh, there she is.
How's the baby?
Oh, my life changing. It's yeah, it went to Bostin spam too, the email. Yeah, the baby's life changing, brother. Hey, Stephanie, welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm trying to get Jodie as well, so hang on one second.
Sure.
Stephanie, do you want us to talk first and then maybe have Jodie call in once everything's kind of rolling, so that way you can tell your side first?
So it's midnight here. She's not answering it. She might be asleep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that, Stephanie. Bostin is a nocturnal person.
No, I am too. I'm completely fine with that. But I think she's probably asleep.
Oh, okay.
Let me see.
Yeah, so Blue, it's a life-changing thing. Every time I look at her, I have new feelings that I've never experienced in my life. You know, just like you said.
It's beautiful, dude. That's amazing.
Stephanie, I just had a daughter. That's what he was asking about last week.
Aw, congratulations. I have a daughter also. It's pretty cool.
Thank you so much. Stephanie, I got a chance just a little while ago to listen to your Instagram video. It was extremely touching and responsible. I was so impressed, really, by the way you presented it. We'll get into that in a bit. I'm just waiting for Bostin to get here. Actually, before Bostin gets here, maybe I can do some housekeeping.
Sure.
So first of all, I wanted to remind the audience about Bostin's forum. Many people ask me about random things. You can find everything at that forum. Support Bostin with joining the forum. It's not very expensive. Second thing I want to tell you guys is we have a lot of cool podcasts coming out. Bostin got some great guests, including Stephanie, and a few more wonderful guests in the next couple of weeks. So we're very excited about that. Also, I wanted to let the audience know. So sometimes people ask questions that's specific to me. So last time I did a video answering those questions, I just want to let the audience know I'm so sorry for not answering them for 2 weeks. I'm going to make a separate video. There's 65 questions. I'm going to get through them all soon, later this week. And finally, very interestingly, I'm planning to do the most detailed interview of William Bonac ever next week, which is really interesting. I don't know if, Blue, did you get a chance to see Dennis James's interview of William Bonac?
No, I haven't.
Unbelievable. This guy has such an interesting character and life story. I can't wait to get into it. Hey, Bostin.
What up?
All right, we're all here. So today we wanted to welcome Stephanie. Is your last name Marie?
That's my middle name. My last name is Flesher.
Well, welcome, Stephanie. It's great to have you on the show. So maybe Bostin, you can introduce, what brought about this discussion is that unfortunately the bodybuilding community had a passing of a European competitor. Is her name Alana?
Yeah, Elena, right?
Elena, yeah.
And do you guys maybe know more about where she passed? I think it was in the Europa, Spain, right?
Yeah, Spain. Alicante, Spain.
Was she a physique competitor or bodybuilder?
Stephanie, was she bodybuilding or physique?
Yeah, she's a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
She's a pro bodybuilder.
Yeah, so she passed away, and interestingly, she's coached by a gentleman named Shelby Starnes. And we're not doing this podcast to badmouth anyone in particular. The goal is really inspired by Stephanie's video, which was very altruistic, which is to prevent other people from potentially dying. So I guess...
Or getting injured or having serious health consequences.
Actually, that's what I would love to talk about later, because not dying is one thing. Like I heard you, Stephanie, talking about your heart, but the kidney is the first thing that gets hit with that extreme dehydration. But anyway, so basically, we wanted to learn Stephanie's story. Now, I'll tell you something, all of you guys. I barely knew about the subject. Bostin and Blue knew much more about it than me, but I received an email from Shelby Starnes this morning, or maybe yesterday, and he called me for 20 minutes today and told me his side of the story. So I can sort of tell you guys what he said either before or afterwards. He has his impression of why Elena or Alana passed away, and he has some assertions about stopping these crazy diuretic protocols a couple of years ago. But I don't know how you guys want to... I think, Stephanie, maybe you could tell us your story first, because it was very touching. And I love... What I love also about your story, I want the audience to know, Stephanie repeatedly in her story says that it was her responsibility and her decision. But she wants to advise people to be aware of what the decisions you're taking. Anyway, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I'm just here to shed some light and bring awareness to these extreme protocols. We obviously pay these coaches because we just don't know. We don't know what to do. That's why we seek out the advice from these top coaches, and we trust that what they're telling us to do is going to get us not only, to look a certain way, but that they have our health and our best interest at heart. And sometimes that's just not the case. Sometimes, these coaches have that whatever it takes mentality, and we don't have the knowledge or sometimes even the bravery to ask questions. We just some of us, we go like very robotic, and we just do what we're told, and we don't ask questions, because that's being a coachable client, just do what you're told. For me, my coach had disappeared on me about 2 weeks out. So I was kind of panicked, and I had worked with Shelby very briefly in the past. So I had prepaid with him for like 6 months and only used him for like a month. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, would you be willing to help me out the last 2 weeks and dial me in, peak me, blah, blah. He's like, I really don't like doing that. But I will for you. You have a credit with me. Let's get to work. And immediately he sent me this protocol, and I'd never even heard of aldactone or Bumex before. So I saw the protocol. I knew what the diazide was. And I didn't ask what is aldactone? What is Bumex? So I went to my source to get these things, and my source basically said, why do you need Bumex? Like, that's basically stronger than Lasix. That's insanity. And I was like, I'm just doing what I'm told, and my source didn't even really want to send it to me, but he did. And I did the protocol. And I remember, I left for Florida, and I was 163 pounds about 4 days out. And, the morning of the show, I was 147. So I lost, what is that, like 16 pounds in about 36 hours. At the point, the night before the show, when I was getting my tan, I was hunched over. I couldn't stand up. Like, physically, I could not stand. I was hunched over, and they were putting the tan on me, and I couldn't breathe. And I just felt like I was going to pass out, and very weak, and like kind of like an out of body experience. And I remember laying down, and I took the 1 milligram of Bumex, and I guess it works pretty quickly. And I remember like I kept going to the bathroom and like looking in the mirror, and my waistline just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I'm like, oh, hell yeah, like it's working. This is awesome. And then I was thinking, for every action, there's a reaction. What if I don't wake up tomorrow? So I nearly didn't go to sleep that night. And I got up at 3 a.m. and I sent check-ins, and I had peaked. Like, that was it. That was the best I looked. And then I pushed more. Bumex. At that point, I think I was given maybe like 100 grams of rice and some salt, but nothing was going to fill me out, and let alone 100 grams of rice. And I headed to the show, and prejudging felt like I was on stage. I think I was on stage for 8 minutes, and it felt like 8 hours. As soon as I walked off stage and got behind the curtain, I fell to the ground. Medics came over immediately. They put ice packs around me, and I wasn't sweating or anything like that. I was very like weak and faint, and I just didn't feel right. My heart was like racing. I actually could feel like a tightness. So I was scared that I was having a heart attack. And I remember texting my boyfriend when I was laying on the ground, and I was like, there's a Gatorade in my bag. I need it. And he came, and he rushed through backstage and got it and brought it to me. And at the same time, I was texting Shelby, and I was like, hey, I'm with the medics. I fell down. Prejudging's over. I got first call out. But something's not right. I don't feel right. I was like, I'm going to drink some Gatorade. And he said, no fluids.
Wow.
That's what shocked me. Yeah, I heard that in your video. What the hell? Sorry.
Yeah. So that was my experience. Now, obviously I didn't win the show. I got like 6th or something. And then I went on vacation, like from that show. I was already in Florida, and I vacationed for a week, and I ate like an asshole. And luckily I didn't really get edema really bad. But I was also told to like continue taking diuretics after, just to like flush my system from eating like shit. But I did not do that.
Well, so can I just comment on something? So I don't know anything about diuretics. So today, when I was listening to your video, I looked into the diuretics, and you're talking about diazide, Which, by the way, diazide is really interesting because diazide blocks what's called the epithelial sodium channel, ENaC, which is specifically the channel that growth hormone increases, causing water retention. So, by the way, that one particularly, but so that's a little bit safer. Then you have the loop diuretic, Bumex, which is one of the most powerful loop diuretics ever. Like, this is really crazy. This is not a means Lasix, by the way, Bostin. This is like apparently another level.
Yeah, I know, man. It's insane.
Have you heard of people using it before?
Oh yeah, people use it. I mean, I know top coaches that use it, but they don't combine it with diazide and fucking aldactone.
And then you have the aldactone, which prevents your body from retaining. It blocks the mineralocorticoid receptors. He's working through so many different mechanisms at once.
Now, mind you, the aldactone was started at 10 days out. The diazide was started at 3 to 4 days out, and then the Bumex was the night before and the morning of.
But does
so
we were tapering
up. We were tapering up the aldactone. It wasn't just the same amount every day. It got higher and higher every day as the show got closer.
Wow.
And Stephanie, he had a friend of ours do 30 days of aldactone.
I've heard. I'm so overwhelmed right now. My DMs are flooded with extreme protocols. I don't even know what to do to how to get this out there and just keep spreading the awareness, because I'm in shock.
I think the most likely way to kill yourself as a bodybuilder, if you're not making mistakes, is with diuretics. Like, you can make a mistake with insulin, but that's really, you're not measuring correctly, or you're taking huge doses and playing it on the edge. But the diuretics, we should make clear to everybody, not only can you die, but every time you dehydrate your body acutely to that level of I was talking to Alex Kickle about this today, by the way, Bostin. But when you dehydrate to that level, you acutely injure your kidney very severely. Like, you might not be able to see it, but every time.
A lot of people have been rushed to the emergency room, and for that, even top bodybuilders for acute kidney injury after a show.
Really?
Yeah, it's happened multiple times.
How often? And Stephanie, maybe
you know who that happened to? Leo, is Luke Sandow.
Oh, no way!
When Chris Aceto was training him, yeah.
Ah, interesting. Because Chris, I watched Palumbo's review of this with John Romano.
Chris didn't say much, though.
Yeah, Chris didn't say much. Did you notice that Chris was sort of like
Chris uses aldactone, and then he hits diazide.
John Romano was going crazy on it.
Yeah, he's very livid. You can tell.
Yeah, so the difference between Shelby and Chris is Chris won't use that loop diuretic where Shelby does. But regardless, these protocols are just nuts. And I know you said in the beginning of the video, Leo, that you don't want to target someone like this, but a guy like Shelby with such a big audience where people are looking at his Instagram and saying, wow, these girls are so in shape. How are they getting this dry and how are they getting this grainy? We do need to target him because this is not just one death. This is not a coincidence. This has happened. I think, Blue, you said there's four people, right? This is not a coincidence. This is happening on his watch, and it's not happening to other coaches. And I've seen his protocols, and I haven't seen other protocols this crazy. I've seen crazy stuff, obviously, but not like this.
Oh, so really? It's the craziest you've ever seen.
I do want to target him. I want this video to hopefully have him stop coaching. And I know Blue is on the same page as me.
So can I ask you something? Is this guy like a successful coach with women? Like, you're saying he delivers
number one, probably the number one.
Oh, I didn't know.
Hey, do some math real quick. 480 clients at $500 a month.
He has 400 clients?
Over.
What the hell? I thought Blue had a lot of clients.
You think he has 400 active?
I talk to him daily now.
Active clients? I don't even know how he can handle that.
That's the problem.
Wow, that's
so that.
How are people getting the attention and the care that they need and they deserve when you have that many clients?
Well, so that's probably why he's just goes crazy with the T3 and Clen, doesn't change the nutrition, and just, oh man, I didn't know he had that many active.
My calories were 700 at 12 weeks out. My cardio was 2 hours a day at 12 weeks out.
What in the world? Okay,
this guy does that to everyone too.
Okay, so I have a couple of one comment I want to make. Interestingly, in bodybuilding, you know, I was trained in economics. In economics, we always look at people's incentives. We don't listen to what they say. And the coach's incentive in bodybuilding, unless he's like most coaches don't experience deaths. So their incentive is really to get you at the best condition, to get that picture of you, to put that on their resume. Whereas your incentive is to win, but not to die. You have a completely different incentive. So there's mismatched incentives. I think the only way that you avoid that is by having a coach that's genuinely moral. like extremely moral and caring about others.
I think we can change this too, in that whatever protocol is written needs to be explained as well. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just write it out and send it. You need to explain what this is going to do, the aftermath, the possible potential side effects, long-term, short-term. And then we as athletes can make a decision, you know, whether or not we want to do that. Like, you know, I'll feel comfortable taking, you know, maybe up to 25 milligrams of aldactone and maybe one diazide, but that's it. You know, Jodie, who I would love to have on here at some point, she's about to have open heart surgery. She's 30 years old. She was taking 200 milligrams of aldactone a day for 3 days. But prior to that, she was backloading it for 10 days and then aldactone. Now, he has told me that he no longer prescribes the Bumex after my incident. But just because you're not prescribing the Bumex does that mean you're going to raise the other ones now?
Well, I'll tell. Maybe this is the time I should tell you guys briefly what he said. I took notes on the call. Of course, I don't know the gentleman. I told him I'd just report what he said, and he has some explanations for what happened. He said about her name is Alina, I guess. About Alina, he said. So first of all, I want to let you guys know I don't know the guy, but on the call. Okay, first of all, I want to say he sounded less creepy than Mandis. The only other female coach I've ever talked to was Mandis, and that guy was a liar, and I could tell on the phone. He was lying to me acutely, and he was very devious. This guy sounded honest. He sounded very distraught and anxious, extremely anxious, very worried. Probably about his reputation and his career, of course. But he said that the lady Alina, basically he says when he gets new clients, he gives them a coaching form and he asks about their health issues. He says she only mentioned that she took levothyroxine, which is T4. He said she never mentioned any other health issues. Then he said he heard from her companions in Spain that she had fainted in a previous couple of shows. Like fainted or passed out.
I'm going to stop you right there because I talked to Shelby on Sunday and I have the screen recorded conversation. He blatantly told me that the show that she did in Portugal, 5-6 weeks ago, that she had complications with the diuretic protocol, wasn't feeling well and was cramping. And he knew then that he should have pulled her from this show in Spain.
Whoa.
And I have that in writing and screen recorded it.
Okay, let me continue to tell you what he said. So he said that he didn't know about it. He found out after her passing that she had passed out in several competitions. He also says, he said sometimes these clients will not want to tell you their health issues because they know you'll pull them back. He gave me as an example. He said, I had a client who got rhabdo, got kidney issues, and this guy, Shelby, stopped her from competing. She went to another coach. So he said, maybe they're keeping it away from me for that reason. He said the lady Alina was 46. She had 2 children. He said that he did not know this, but after she passed away, there was a video that revealed that said she had gotten allegedly cancer twice and survived it. So he said he didn't know about this cancer. He didn't know about the passing out. And he said that, he said he thinks she may have had an arrhythmia, but he's just guessing because of the passing out, I assume. Also, he said that he admitted, so he told me that Bostin has this idea of him as being like very crazy with his protocols and so on. But he said that he stopped doing this 2 years ago. He admitted clearly to me.
Oh shit!
He admitted clearly to me, I used to use very extreme diuretic protocols.
My buddy's wife worked with him like a year ago, and he was doing crazy shit.
Jodie just competed 9 months ago, and I have her protocol on hand. And she is now 9 months post-show. Her resting heart rate is 140. She's on bed rest. She's not allowed to get up and walk upstairs. She can't go to work, and she has to have open heart surgery in September. 9 months post-show.
What the well, this is crazy. Okay, let me continue to go through.
Shit, Leo, literally a year ago, the guy was pushing 30 days of aldactone. That's
insane. So he specifically told me 20 years ago.
I think he means that he no longer uses the loop, the Lasix or the Bumex.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter if people are getting injured.
In the extremity of the protocol.
Kind of. But if people are getting, we'll get into the detail. But so he said, he also said her roommate in Spain said that she was taking a blood pressure medication the day of the show, and he didn't know about this before, he said. And he said, then I asked him, so I asked him, he was done talking. I told him, listen, I have 2 questions. I don't know much about you. 2 questions struck me. One is that I heard Romano say that many people had died. So I asked him, how many people have died? He said, no, only one person has died before, and now Alina or Alana. So 2 people have died. And he was like,
Blue knows more by name.
Yeah.
Tracy Hess, you can talk to her husband about it. She was 2 weeks out from the Tampa in 2018. And then who's the girl, the national level girl, Stephanie?
Yeah, I'm not sure her name because they actually removed her name from the scorecard, but because she did not show up. But she did not show up because she died in the hotel room like the night before.
And then
he's straight up lying?
And then the chick that died right after the show.
Mariola in Tampa.
Yeah,
what? So there's 4 people who've died?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what's weird before I continue?
In 2.5 years, not just like over his career, in 2.5 years.
The chick in Tampa, she got off stage, and I think she passed away in her hotel room like the day after or something.
Yeah, it was like a couple of days later. Yeah, her body couldn't recover.
This is crazy. I can't believe what I'm hearing. You know, when I got off the phone, I thought he was telling the truth, but I went to my wife. My wife was sitting there. I said, this guy, they're saying he killed 5 people. He's telling me, no, I only killed 2 people. So I was like, what kind of person says that? No, bro, it's 2 people, not 5. You get it right. But anyway, so apparently that's a lie too. Anyway, the last thing I asked him was, and he admitted about you. He said he used a harsh diuretic protocol with you. So he admitted that also. But he said the final thing he said, yeah. The final thing he said was, I asked him because I was curious, what kind of coach chooses only to coach women? Like Bostin won't coach women unless they're in a couple. And I've heard a lot of the time that women are sometimes more difficult to coach because they need emotional support and things like that. When I asked him, he said women, I don't want to quote him wrong. He says women are more coachable and listen better. But that doesn't strike me as correct. So what, I don't know, I'm not saying he's lying, but my experience is maybe women will look up to a male figure that's a coach and be more impressionable, not coachable. Like they'll want to ask questions maybe.
I think we're more naive, if anything.
Naive, exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Interesting. So let's get into the details about what he lied about. So there's actually at least 4 people who died in the last 2 years.
4 and many other hospitalized.
Yeah, and now one that's 30 that needs open heart surgery.
Yeah, let's talk about that, the hospitalizations, because the death is an extreme thing. But I imagine if there's 4 deaths, there's like 20 hospitalizations.
Well, that's the thing.
I have about, I can't even keep track at this point. I stopped counting at 40, but I've had hundreds of women, all women, flooding my DMs since I did my original live video on Sunday night. Hundreds with similar stories, similar protocols, and 90% of them are former clients of his. There's only been 2 other coaches' names that have been dropped. And it's not just the diuretic protocols. It's also like the gear protocols, but in combination. And they've all explained to me like their aftermath and what they're going through now. And a lot of them can never compete again.
Like, do they have heart issues or kidney issues? What do they have?
Most of it's kidneys. Some is heart. Some people have had to have parts of their thyroid removed. Some people still don't know what's going on. They're working, they have blood work that's needing done. And I have a lady who she quit 2 weeks out because she just knew it didn't feel right or feel safe. Another lady slit her wrists and he knew about it and he still put her on stage 2 weeks out.
Yeah, someone commented about that one. And then someone else said that's not relevant. No, that is relevant. That is very relevant.
Well, these drugs do play. They mess with your hormones, which is going to mess with your mental state.
And the coach should realize that and try to take care of her and not push. The thing about the Gatorade, telling you not to drink the Gatorade, that's like similar to this. Like, it seems like a bit heartless.
So my water was pulled at about, I would say 3:30 on Friday. And I wasn't allowed to drink water, obviously, until finals was over Saturday night. So over 24 hours. But for Jodie, and I'll speak on her behalf, she wants to be on here. Hers was a 2-day show. She didn't get to have water for over 48 hours.
Holy crap. With the diuretics, you're talking about people.
That's why her body has not been able to recover 9 months later, because she dehydrated her body so hard and for so long.
Oh my God.
I've never heard of these protocols like this, Leo, ever. Like usually when people hammer diuretics, like I was in the hotel room with a guy in Nationals who was hammering diuretics, and he kept the fluid in the whole time. While he was hammering diuretics, he was drinking the whole fucking time. So this is just outrageous to me.
I mean, I'm honestly speechless because
I just want people to be aware whether or not the protocols continue to happen or they stop, which would be wonderful. I just want people to be aware so they can see it when it's on their plan and it's handed to them and they can be like, oh, hell no, I know better. I saw that podcast. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to try to do with the podcast. We'll try to popularize it and direct it to. But you know, Bostin, because Bostin has kidney issues. You know, we always talk about like androgens affecting the kidney or blood pressure. There is nothing worse than dehydration for the kidney. It is the most damaging thing to the kidney acutely, and the damage remains.
Like
you can't.
that.
Yeah, and you cannot heal, and you may have damage that you don't even know about. Like your EGFR may look normal, but a few years later you may find, oh crap,
Trust me, I'm now going to get checked out because I am pretty concerned for myself now. And I've competed multiple times since then with more diuretics.
You know, you should consider is just doing an ultrasound so you can get a visual picture of the kidney to see if it has scarring in it. You know, which is what Bostin just did. And also just, I should mention, you know, when you do your kidney test, don't just look at creatinine because that's affected so much by your muscle. There's another thing called Cystatin C. You can calculate your EGFR based on Cystatin C, and that does not get affected by your muscle. So it'll tell you a good picture of how your kidneys are functioning. And a third thing called symmetric dimethylarginine, SDMA. Those three are all predictors of kidney. So if you test all of them, you'll get a very good understanding of how your kidneys function. Okay,
so I just need to ask for like a full kidney workup, and then
no, they won't give you these. I'll send it to you. I'll send you a DM with the names.
So with Jodie, she got rhabdo right after her show and was on bed rest for like 5 weeks after the show. And so they went straight for kidneys. They didn't even think to check her heart. And months later, she kept getting edema and they couldn't figure out why. So they finally did an EKG and they found out that it actually wasn't her kidneys. It's actually her heart and her lungs.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the best of this guy, but like, I don't understand how you could do this to so many people.
Well, and yeah, he's had people run up to 200 mcgs of Clen and 120, 150 T3.
Hey, that's
I just got an email, 180 T3 for 8 weeks.
180 T3
and 2+ hours of cardio, plus 180, 200 micrograms of Clen, plus 600 milligrams of DNP.
Oh my
God! The hell?
So he had some girls use DNP too.
Yeah, I have the protocol. This is the most recent person that just messaged me.
Worse than I thought.
No, but the just for the audience to know, T3 directly raises your heart rate. That's why we like this thing called GC1, which is a peptide doesn't affect you. It directly raises your heart rate. When I take 25 milligrams of T3 in the morning, my heart rate is like 10 beats higher. If I then went to exercise for 2 hours, my heart will develop fibrosis in it, scar tissue, and grow. Now, if I did that and took Clen and I took 150 micrograms of T, that's insane. That's a death recipe.
This isn't just for like a week or two. We're talking stints of like 8 to 12 weeks.
The damage to the heart will never go away. I can tell you for sure.
That's why Jodie is 30 and needs open heart surgery.
My God.
Leo, we even talked about this. Just 12. When I added 12.5 mcgs of T3 over my baseline, my resting heart rate went up like 10 to 15 beats.
That's what I'm saying. I can't even tolerate it. My heart rate goes too high. That's crazy. I can't even imagine a person taking 150 micrograms.
DNP and do like a low dose of T3, like 12.5 mcgs, like as a maintenance.
No, I do. Yeah, you should take T3 when you're on DNP, correct, Bostin?
Exactly. Like a super low bait maintenance dose, like 12.5 mcgs.
Because doesn't DNP like shut off your natural anyway?
It definitely affects your thyroid function, and that's why you want to run the baseline. But it's one thing to run DNP and have a baseline T3, and it's one thing to do massive Clen. Like when I have my clients do DNP, they're on 20 to 40 micrograms Clen max, and only like 200 DNP. I mean,
to be clear for everyone, Clen is a direct adrenaline receptor agonist. Adrenaline directly raises the heart rate. That's why we take beta blockers. They block adrenaline, slow the heart rate. So if you're taking T3 separate, by the way, I've actually tried this.
But clenbuterol is actually asthma medication.
Yeah. But why it's an asthma medication? When you increase adrenaline, your lung, whatever they're called, open. But so if you're taking that much Clen and that much T3, you have two different mechanisms. Are these guys? Does he tell them to watch their heart rate? Do they get Apple watches to check their heart rate, or the Oura Ring or something? Bro, this is. If you do this for 3 months, almost anybody's gonna get an arrhythmia or get serious heart damage that's permanent. This is crazy.
And then at the end of it, let's hammer you with diuretics.
My God, this is a death recipe.
And he has 400 clients. That is ridiculous.
Leo,
this is a death recipe, man. This is serious.
I feel like it's just like a science experiment gone wrong and it's trial and error.
No,
like,
it's not.
I almost killed Stephanie, so let me let me back off a little bit, but we'll try adding more aldosterone to get the same effect, or I'm sorry, aldactone.
But there's no way that this could be sustainable. Like, honestly, now that I hear the dosages, I don't know as much about diuretics, but the dosage of T3 and clenbuterol, if you keep someone on this kind of protocol for 4 years, they're going to retire. They're going to have heart issues, kidney issues, blood pressure issues, arrhythmia. They're going to have all that.
And that's the thing. I think that the reason that there is such a turnover in the clientele base is because these people disappear and they never compete again. It's one and done, you know.
In his protocols, when it comes to nutrition that I've seen recently, it looks lazy. It looks like he sends everyone the same shit and just jacks the stimulants through the roof. And me and Blue talked about this the other day. It's not hard to get someone in shape when you say do 3 hours of cardio, take 100 T3, take 150 Clen.
Well, if they don't get in shape, they die.
Anyone will get in shape.
Yeah. Well, what's happening is, when I hired him, you know, I know after this incident happened, I still rehired him for another prep, and then COVID happened and my prep was canceled. But what happens is, you know, the body can only like function on 700 calories for so long. And you're talking at 12 weeks out with 2 hours of cardio a day, plus all these uppers, all these drugs, all these compounds, like 10 plus compounds. You start cheating on your diet. You know what I mean? Like you can't not. And that's what I'm finding with all these women that are coming forward. They're like, so I would do the 5 weeks, no carbs, and then I would binge eat. And then I'd check in the next day and it was like he wasn't even looking at my pictures because he'd say that I'm full and tight. I'm thinking you shouldn't be full and tight after 5 weeks of no carbs. You should be flat and depleted. If you're actually looking at the picture and you say you're full and tight, as a coach, you should be like, why? How are you full and tight? And it's because they binged.
And let's not talk
about
like,
the plan is working. Keep going, no carbs.
And let's not even talk about it. All the girls that post show, they turn into fat whales. It's ridiculous. All of his chicks rebound hard. They're like they balloon up.
And then starts the eating disorders.
This will give you an eating disorder. I mean, I can't even imagine the feeling, Stephanie, of taking the amount of T3 and clenbuterol that you just. I can't even imagine that.
I haven't touched T3 in years because I'm scared to death because a former client of his had her thyroid removed and she was one of my best friends. And ever since then, I said, I'm not touching that shit.
That's crazy.
Leo, I was going to tell you, I talked to his ex, Kaylin, who lived with him. I talked to her. She called me today, and she wants to come on the show. And a lot of stuff, man. A lot of stuff. She has a lot of inside and depth information. I mean, it's from absolutely creepy to just irresponsible, like just craziness. But, you know, I'll let you talk to her.
You know, when I talked to him on the phone today, I honestly, he tricked me. I thought this guy was a creep, but I thought this guy, he sounded honest.
Because he was scared about his reputation.
No, he's very scared.
If you notice, all the comments have been turned off on his most recent post. And the post about Elena, the caption really bothers me in the sense that it's so vague and it doesn't really say I coached her. It doesn't blatantly say that. It just kind of says like her life was taken too soon. You know, that's it. It wasn't like there was no accountability or responsibility. And I'm not here to blame anyone. But at some point, like as a coach, you hit that send button on that protocol.
Well, wait. If you have 3 people die, you have to reconsider your life. You know,
he has no emotion though, Leo. I have a friend of mine that knows him. He said this guy just doesn't care. Like he just has no emotion. And I talked to.
Isn't that called narcissism?
Yeah, I mean that's what I think. Like he literally.
It's actually called sociopathy, I think.
I don't even think he like thinks he's like me. I talked to someone about this. He doesn't even think he thinks he's wrong. Like one of his friends or was a friend, whatever you want to call it. He doesn't even think what he's doing is wrong. That's the issue.
Is he? Because I just have a hard time understanding that anybody could recommend someone to take over 100 micrograms of T3 with over 100 of.
Well, there's a disclaimer at the bottom of the emails, you know.
No, but I mean, just like if he's thinking about it, I'm not a coach, but I read a lot about pharmacology, and it's just crazy to think of putting that in a small woman and then telling her to do the cardio to raise the heart rate. It's a death recipe. I mean, this is extremely irresponsible. Extremely. It doesn't even matter if nobody died. Now I'm changing if nobody died and he really prescribed that this guy should be stopped from coaching, period.
Blue, you should have had her call in.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about timing and all that stuff. And she has a lot of info. I mean, like, beyond. I mean, she knows him inside and out, and, she explained a lot of things and said, I know this person. He does not care. He does not care whatsoever. He knows what he's doing.
That's not what the most recent post says.
What's that?
The most recent post from a couple hours ago.
From her?
She made a post?
Shelby made a post a couple hours ago.
What did he say?
That he cares.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, I have a question.
That's why.
Why didn't he care after the first one, the second one, or the third one?
No.
Why did no one talk about it? No one knows about it?
I've said this many times. Leo, we just did a podcast a couple months ago.
Bostin mentions it.
A silent killer for years.
Bostin always says that. That's true. And this guy.
And it's just, to me, it's like, I think the reason that I spoke out was because Elena, her passing should have been me. Like, the exact same way that she died was what happened to me. I passed out backstage. I did extreme diuretic protocol with that coach. Like, everything that happened to her, it was so surreal for me. And I was like, enough is enough is enough.
No, your video was so responsible. I mean, anyone who watches that will see that you really care. It's not about, you are not even trying to demonize the coach. You're trying to protect women from dying. And
here's the thing. I'm not here to bash Shelby. He's not the only one doing it.
Oh, are there other
many coaches doing this?
To that extent?
I haven't seen a protocol to that extent. I just got a protocol from, actually, you just named him, Mike or something.
Who?
Leo, you named his name earlier. You said you just talked to him?
Who? No, I talked to Shelby.
No.
Alex Kickle.
Yes, Alex. I got a protocol of his that was very extreme.
Actually, I talked to Alex today and I asked him a question. I didn't mean about this. I honestly was watching the Texas Pro and I was looking at Phil Klahar and I was like, this guy is so dry. Whatever he did to get like, that's not healthy. I know something's not healthy. So I was asking Alex, because he's into science and stuff. I said, you like coaching and stuff. Do you like dehydrating people? Do you ever worry about the concerns? And he told me it's the funnest part of the thing. He says he loves to do aldactone and then replete with, anyway, you guys will see the video, but.
Does he use a loop diuretic too?
No, he didn't go into all of them. He just used aldactone. He just mentioned aldactone.
He trained one of my ex-clients. Not ex. He trained a guy that works with me now. I mentioned this many times, and shit, I'll have to ask him now. I'm curious, but like I said, Alex guys, they never come in right. So I mean,
but he disagrees. He says he can get anyone. It was very interesting. He said he can get anyone. I
have the protocol about
perfect condition.
DNP, T3, and Clen, and it was from Alex.
He loves DNP. Well. He loves DNP for sure. But wow, that's crazy that he's doing that too.
I can't believe that there's somebody. So is this guy? What do you think is his driving thing, Stephanie? Do you think is he like experimenting on people, or does he like money?
I don't think so. I actually do like Shelby. I've actually been to Detroit. He only lives 4 hours away from me, and I visited him. I actually think he's a great guy. He's very knowledgeable and very smart. What I think he's burnt out. I think it's time to retire. I think he's been doing this for so long. It's just so like mundane to him. And I think he has a little bit of agoraphobia. He doesn't leave his house. He has his food delivered. He works out in his basement. He works 16 hours a day. He goes to bed at 6 p.m. He's up at 3 a.m. I think he's just like a robot now.
Actually, that's what we've heard. Like he's like almost autistic or OCD or something.
And he's a millionaire, but he's super frugal. You would never know that he has money that he has. But at what price? Other people's lives.
Yeah, this is really bizarre. I mean, nobody should hire this guy again.
And at what point is it involuntary manslaughter? I
think it's already at that point. If there's 4 people, it's already at that point. It's just people haven't brought it to the police. I mean, it's four people. It's not one.
Well, I've actually talked to some lawyers and some federal people. 2 of them are international, so they really can't. They don't have a case. They're international athletes.
his ex, the one who worked with him as well, just texted me. That's how I was on my phone. She's going to call in a minute here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because she's very upset.
I mean, but what makes somebody, if he was just like interested in science or knowledge, you know, that kind of guy, what makes somebody have 400 clients instead of 200?
I think that if you followed for years, and I fell in love with women's physique when it was DLB and Juliana, if you followed Shelby for years, that's when his come up started. Am I right, Bostin?
Yeah, probably like 2013, 14.
Yeah, you said 2012.
Yeah, and I think what happens is you get addicted to winning, and you get addicted to marketing your top athletes. And then everybody sees that and everybody wants to look like that, but not everybody can. So it's like, okay, I gave you what I did with so-and-so, but that's not working. So I got to push you harder. I got to give you more.
Yeah, he targets his marketing to women. One of my good friends had worked with him a few years ago, and he ended up dropping Shelby in the middle of the prep because my buddy was shredded like 6 weeks out. And Shelby already had him on like 50 T3. And then Shelby saw his check-in and was like, bump T3 to 80. He was like, dude, what the fuck? He's like, I dropped 3 pounds this week and he wants me to up the T3 another 30 mcgs. He's like, fuck.
I've heard that a couple times as well, where someone will check in and they lost a bunch of weight and they look great. And then he added like more cardio.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Yeah. Like almost like he doesn't even look at their check-in.
What I just said. Yeah. I just don't think you can pay attention to detail when you have 400 people checking in.
No, that's not possible. Well, one person can't. I don't know if he has assistants.
I would like to know how he even keeps track of payments of 400 clients. That's nuts.
He has an accountant.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, I have an assistant that works for me. That's how I do it.
Yeah, that's really difficult.
I think I heard QuickBooks is the best for these coaches that take on a lot of people. I heard they could just do it monthly or whatever.
I actually just started an app, and my app does it all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's ways to do it for sure. I asked for a refund, and he was kind enough to give me the refund. Jodie asked for a refund today because she still paid him. She's been paying him. She hasn't been able to work out or diet or do anything, and she's still been paying him. And he was generous enough he's going to write her a check.
Interesting. But somebody was asking us, by the way, we had a question. Somebody was saying, Chalupa Mataj was saying, we know his diuretic protocols are insane, but what about the rest? High T3 and Clen are a no-brainer, but is he a big fan of high androgens also? I was just curious about that.
Yeah. So like I said, I was on like 10 different compounds. I was on 3 different oils. So Masteron, EQ, and Primo all at the same time. Winstrol, Nolvadex, Remodex, Proviron.
THD compound?
And Letro. So like that was my stack.
Letro, holy fuck.
Holy crap. He's very intense. Letro on a woman.
Plus
all the
T3 and Clen. I think I was on like 12 different things at once.
You were just
you're allowed to use, he encourages you to use like Bronchate or Ephedra if you want as well.
That's insane. With the clenbuterol and this is crazy. This will kill anybody that's not extremely robust.
That's why it has to stop, Leo.
This is crazy. This is criminal. This is criminal. So we have a guest on the show. I don't know her name, but I think she's joined. Can she hear us?
Hello.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. I was just laughing at all the stuff she was saying because it sounded creepily familiar.
So Blue was telling us that you have a personal experience with Shelby Starnes.
I do. Yeah. He did a prep for me. We know each other a little bit better than coach and client, but he did a prep for me in 2015 and it went very poorly. It involved a lot of drugs and in 6 weeks, just absolutely destroyed my physique. I looked terrible. I looked like I barely trained. And I have not been right since. So it's 6 years later.
Wow.
Well, how so? What, you have permanent damage?
I have issues with my blood sugar staying stable. And the endocrinologist, nobody's ever really been able to figure it out except to tell me that I have extreme insulin sensitivity. So I get hypoglycemic very easily. I carry glucose tabs all the time now and a meter. And it's been a 6-year problem since that prep. Nobody else in my family has any issues like that. So I've never even heard of something like that. Can I ask you, so Blue was telling us that you know him in a bit more personal sense. I happened to speak to Shelby this morning. He gave me his account of how didn't take responsibility for the lady's death, and said that he's only killed one other person before. Is that true, first of all? Is there only 2 people that died and not 4? I mean, I know of one and this one. Usually if a gal passes away that's connected to Shelby, someone will send me a message about it and be like, wow, you got another one. I know it's morbid, but I knew of one other. And then I was told today that there was another that I didn't know had been working with him.
Not the lady in Spain.
No.
Oh, so you confirm also there's 3 that you've heard of.
Yes, total.
Wow. So this is very interesting. So can you explain to us one thing? I heard these really crazy protocols of using over 100 micrograms of T3, a lot of clenbuterol, making people do cardio on that. Apparently using ephedrine if you want to as well. This is all like a recipe for heart failure, fibrosis in the heart, permanent heart damage. And then the diuretic protocols will certainly damage the kidney whether you know it or not. This is really extreme, the kind of dehydration. But I wanted to know, why does he do this? Because you know him well, I think. What is his motivation? Why does he risk people's lives?
My best explanation for it, which is what I told Blue today, a lot of people don't know this. To the best of my knowledge, I've seen his degree hanging on the wall, but it's in psychology. To the best of my knowledge, I don't think he has any formal education in biochemistry or pharmacology or nutrition or personal training.
So it's all bro science.
Yeah, because he told me he was a bodybuilder himself and he wasn't a very good one. And I don't really know how you, being trained as a male bodybuilder, would ever think to put a woman on 100 micrograms of T3. It's like he's creating things himself that are pushing the boundaries.
Well, it's that, and then it's, I mean, he pretty much, at least, I don't want to drag anybody through the mud. I don't want to fuck with anybody's money. That's not how I do things. I've been mum on this for 6 years. I never made a public announcement or denouncement of him or anything. I just thought that it didn't make me look good if I did that. But then there's been 3 girls that I know of since then. And then I know countless others that can no longer compete because they have these long-lasting issues. So yes, I was on over 100 micrograms of T3. I was on over 100 micrograms of Clen. I want to say 120. He had me on 80 7 weeks out. I actually pulled up old emails earlier today. I was on Proviron. I was on Letrozole. I was on Aldactone at 100 milligrams a day, a week out, going up to 150. And then also Diazide the night before, which I didn't take the full dose because I told him I had a history of being very flat very easily, and I don't handle diuretics well. So, yeah, I mean, I got to the point where I was 3 weeks out, and I did not look how I looked when I won the overall at North Americans at the same stage of the game. And I was very unhappy. I was on an hour plus of cardio a day with HIIT, like 50 minutes off and on of HIIT. And keep in mind, I was going 4 days at a time on protein only. I was not allowed to have any carbs or any fat. It was a complete divergence from the diets that got me.
I can attest to that diet as well. I was on protein only, no carbs, no fats at 12 weeks out.
That's insane.
Wow.
Yeah. So by 3 weeks out, my physique was disintegrating around me. I was profoundly unhappy, like in a depressive sort of way, because probably the Letro messes with your mind. Yes. And I had even told him I had a history of some depression from taking a Remodex, which I was like, look, like I kind of know it makes me that way, so I can handle it, but it's not real pleasant. So that's why we tried the Proviron. And when his cookie cutter diet didn't work, it was like he just started throwing pills at me. And
That's exactly what Bostin just said. What the hell?
Yeah.
You guys are all saying the same things. Yeah.
I don't understand why we're not emphasizing more on the training. You know, I asked for a leg day and never got one in like 6 months. Never got a training program.
Wow. Interesting.
I actually trained myself up to that point, and I just did, like I told Blue today, like I did just old school blood and guts, you know, add weight until you can't do decent reps anymore. And I loved it. It made me happy. That's what I enjoyed about training, was training hard. And then I trained with him, and it's just like these countless reps and weird pyramid sets and hooking elite FTS bands to fucking machines and just weird stuff that like drove me crazy. And I was like, okay, so now I'm like, I look like shit. I'm unhappy, and I actually hate lifting weights. Great. You know, so
perfect.
Yeah.
A $12 trophy.
Right. Exactly. And so
if you make it to the stage.
Yeah, the thing that really pissed me off, and the thing that I've never reconciled, because I could get if he was like, okay, so obviously you don't respond to the diet the way a lot of girls do. We need to figure out a better way to get you in shape. Because I even asked him, I was like,
or hey, maybe we should get some blood work done and find out what's going on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So if at 3 weeks out, or maybe, you know, it was like 3.5 weeks, I bring him a picture of how I looked at my last prep, that amount of time out. And I was like, okay, so I looked like this, and I was eating all of this, which I sent you before I even prepped with you, so you would have an idea what my body responds to. And I was eating all of this, and I was literally paying this dude $40 a month to coach me. And he made me get a pro card in 2 shows. Okay. The most like generic women's fitness coach on the planet treated me right and did not make me sick. Here I look like this. I'm on this laundry list of drugs and the ancillaries. It was not so much the androgens, but it was like just all the aromatase inhibitors and all the stuff that fuck with my thyroid and everything. I'm like, I'm on this laundry list of shit, and I look like hot garbage. Help me understand.
So you look worse with the more drugs.
More drugs, less food, more cardio. And I was pissing brown. That's when I hit my limit. I was like, dude, my pee's brown and it stinks. Like, what do I do?
What do you say to that?
You really want to know? Because this is what pushed me over the edge.
No, this is very important. Yeah, this happened to both Bostin and I. We've had that brown thing, and it's freaked both of us out. But that's your kidney failing.
Yeah, he was sitting in his chair at his computer, and he looked at me and he said, "Welcome to pro level conditioning."
Oh. Wow. I told you, Leo, he doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, this is well, whether he gives a shit or not.
It's not true though. I just got 3rd place at my female bodybuilding debut, and I've never done less drugs, more food, and less cardio in my whole career. And I look the best I ever looked. That's not what it takes to get to that level.
I wonder if he believes everything he's saying, or if he's just doing the easiest way, like the least. Because think about it like this: if you got to interact with a client with the diet and do all that, the easiest way is to send medications. Just take this. Let me see what is it about efficiency, or does he believe what he's doing? And what's his incentive? Is it money? Because I hear he has over 400 clients. I mean, that's a really crazy amount of clients to have. If you're really trying to do the best with each client, you won't take 400. It's not possible. You can't. You can take maybe 200. Huh? What, Bostin?
I said, there's no way in hell you'll take 400 clients if you want to be the best coach and manipulate nutrition and everything like that. There's no way. Like, the only way you can manage that many clients is exactly what he does is, here's all these drugs.
There's no way. You guys know I train almost 300 people all over the world. I've had health problems. My wife just got mad at me the other day because I was seeing things. Because
this guy doesn't sleep.
I didn't sleep over. It was 3.5. And I was starting to see stuff. I mean, I've had health problems because of doing it like this.
Being overworked, yeah.
Yeah. Because I really, OCD on every single person, hundreds of people. There's no 400 people. Man, that's straight up insane.
So I know a coach who has 600 clients, and it's copy and paste. And I got someone else's plan that he forgot to like delete the other person's name off of it.
Oh, I've seen that all the time with coaches where they forget to take out the name of the previous person they sent it to.
Yeah. And what's funny is I had my boyfriend at the time hire him also, and he gave him my same plan. Mind you, my ex is like 70 pounds heavier than me, and we had the exact same plan, and he didn't change my plan for like 13 weeks. And I finally said, I said, hey, I think we should do this, this, and this. He goes, you're the pro. What do you think? And I'm like, so what am I paying you for?
This is Nick Trigili type of stuff. Nick does that.
This
Nick
was
does
Shane
the exact
Heugly,
same.
actually.
Oh, Palumbo also. Actually, there's a few people. Yeah.
Can you say who the coach was?
It was Shane Heugly.
Oh, he's another one. He's another one that used to be a really good coach. Everything was good to say about him when he started out. And now I have people messaging me telling me that he fucking is not looking at their check-ins, is just doesn't even care anymore.
Yeah,
like,
he would go like 4 days without responding to me.
And he used to have good reviews. Like girls used to like him. And I know many girls that just left his ass because they said.
But if you notice, he's a pro card chaser. So he chases like promoting how many pro cards he has won, but then how many of these people have done anything after they turn pro? None of them.
Yeah.
To the caller, I don't know your name, but to the caller, can you explain like his psychology, what you know of it? Because I know you know of him on a more personal level. Do you think what is his motivation to do this, and why do you think he doesn't care people are dying? And he cares now, but I can clearly tell he's scared. It's not care about the reason.
I don't think I don't want to like trash the guy on a personal level, because for one, it doesn't lend any credibility to anything that I say. You know what I mean? It doesn't make me look like I'm telling the truth. But he is on the computer with clients literally probably 12, 16 hours a day sometimes. He does derive an immense amount of enjoyment out of when his clients are successful. But my personal experience with him wasn't like that. But I won't say that my experience mirrors everybody else's. He really does live the way everybody thinks he lives. He's very regimented about everything he does. He's very habitual. He eats the exact same meals at the same times every day. Goes to the he goes to the same stores at the same time every day.
He hasn't left his house in like 16 months, I was told today.
Okay, that does not surprise me, because the only thing he really left his house for was to go to the gym before. But he was still actively competing then. So this has been like 6 years ago. But he is really like, people called him like the bodybuilding monk, and he really lives like that. He's just very reclusive. He's very involved in what he's doing. And I don't know why the protocols sound like they've gotten even harsher than what I was on. I don't know why it is the way it is, but it's basically like, there's no tailoring to people being metabolically different or genetically different or whatever. It's like, this is how it is. And we're just going to keep making it more ridiculous until your body cooperates or shuts down. It's like, there's no, I wonder what is
it's literally just pushing the envelope, pushing it.
I noticed that with clients, they either do really good or they just don't show up at the shows.
And what's crazy is I'll notice that like he'll have multiple clients in a show, but he only talks about the ones that like place in really, really high. So obviously, it's obvious, like we're going to market the winners and the ones that are, our favorites, but at the same time, like, do we just not care about the other people?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. And my issue I've struggled with is I saw somebody else made a post about this issue when I was perusing Instagram, I think. And somebody, a lot of people were making comments like, well, it's their responsibility. They took it. And that's kind of been a thing that I've reconciled, where it's like, well, yeah, of course. Like, I'm not a saint. I've done lots of stuff. I went to powerlifting after bodybuilding, and I was wildly successful at it. I trained at Westside for like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
It's not like I'm a pussy and I can't handle the training. Okay. And I quit when it gets hard. And that's how he made me feel. But I was like, no, dude, it's not that it's hard. I'm sick. Like, I look like shit. My pee's brown. I want to blow my brains out. Like, this is not like how it's supposed to be. So there was that. But, yeah, of course I have culpability in it.
I mean, it sounds
Nobody
like
made me go out
right there.
Do what?
That just sounds like a lack of empathy.
It was. And I think that was maybe unique to my situation because it was, like I said, a little bit different. But like, of course I went and acquired most of those things. There were a few things that were given to me. I don't want to throw anybody legally under the bus. So I'm going to be quiet about certain stuff. But, you know, like nobody held a gun to my head. But at the same time, there would be things that I would say, like, you tell me to take Letro, and I'm like, hey, man, I don't know. And you give me 15 reasons why I should do it. And I want to, like, you know, I'm invested in this. You're a little bit easier to manipulate when you're not only calorie deficient, but like you want to win. You're an athlete. You trust this person as your coach. And so when you bring stuff up and you're like, aldactone, I don't know. You know, I tend to get really flat, and they're like, no, you'll be fine because XYZ. And you're like, okay. So like, yeah, of course there's a margin of culpability with the athlete, but Jesus Christ, when it happens this many times, and not only you've got this many girls that have retired because they can't compete anymore because they're so unhealthy.
Well, can we make a note about that? Because there's a difference between the athlete saying, oh, I know aldactone makes me flat. The athlete knows that. They don't know the health ramifications of the pharmacology. The point of the coach, maybe one thing is he knows how to use gear a little bit better or whatever. The other point is he should be watching your health, and he should be telling you this does this. Letrozole is the most potent aromatase inhibitor, enzymatic aromatase inhibitor in existence. And if a woman just goes on Clomid,
and I brought that up.
Just Clomid, which is a CERM.
I was on it for like 8 weeks once, and I remember driving.
You have anxiety and depression, right?
Oh, it was more than that. It was literally like I was driving home, and all of a sudden I had a thought of driving off a cliff and dying. Like I wanted to kill myself just randomly all of a sudden.
So yeah, have you ever taken Clomid before?
I've never taken Clomid.
Good. So when women take Clomid for fertility reasons, they have like men also. We both get issues, anxiety, depression. That's nothing. If anyone's taking Clomid, I'm just saying for the audience, Letrozole will be way on another level. The reason is serotonin, which is one of the main hormones in the brain to regulate comfort and like contentment, is completely regulated by estrogen in men and women. So when you remove estrogen, serotonin is gone. You could make up for this you could try with an SSRI or something, but this is really bad psychologically. So we hear about this woman slitting her wrists. And then I'm encouraged. There's a lot of I'm not saying he's evil, but this is like almost the level of irresponsibility is almost criminal. Honestly, it's almost criminal. Like we're all not doctors, but this guy is not a doctor and doesn't tell people about you're going to get acute kidney damage. It's never going to go away, but you do it for this show.
That's what I'm saying. Like if you're going to write these protocols, you need to warn people about the health and the risks and just make them aware if they choose to go forward with it. Here's the possibilities of what could potentially happen, including death. And then it is solely on that client and that person to make a more educated decision and say, no, thank you. Or, okay, I want to do it anyway.
Exactly. No, I mean, well, one thing is that say you have some crazy client who they're like, hey, I want to die in 5 years. I want to do everything I can to get on stage. That's one thing. But I doubt those 400 female clients are willing to harm their kidneys, harm their hearts for life. I think that they don't know. I don't know if he knows, but whether he knows or they know, everybody knows that 100 micrograms of T3 and 100 micrograms of clenbuterol together is going to cause heart damage within a few weeks. Your heart rate will be,
What I've noticed is just in the last actually 24 hours, obviously you're going to have an opposing side. You're going to have, he's going to have his tribe and his clients that have been with him, and they're blindly loyal and faithful until it happens to them. And then what? And here's the other thing I noticed. I know of 2 women that are currently with him who have suffered from extreme renal failure, kidney issues, mental issues. They left the scene for 3 years and then went back to him, and they're defending him. Really? And that's what I don't understand.
I think that there needs to be more awareness of what these drugs do and the harm they do physically, because there's no way to defend that. You cannot defend it. You maybe look good on stage. You've just harmed yourself for the rest of your life. And like Bostin, this happened to accidentally. This is not accidental. I mean, like if Bostin had done these protocols, I would have said, hey, Bostin, that's because of your diuretic protocol.
If I'm training myself and I fuck myself up, but it's also different if I'm putting other people's.
But you didn't do this.
Yeah.
You never did a diuretic protocol like this, bro.
Not even close. Because
this is worse than 300 milligrams of Tren a day for your kidney.
I'm actually scared of dying. Like, I don't want to do diuretics like that because I'm actually scared of that shit.
Just to be clear, this is worse than 300 milligrams of Tren for your kidney, by far.
I'll take
by far.
I'll take a gram of Tren a day. But the question I have for you guys is, do you guys even look better on the anti-estrogens?
So actually, I just told my recent coach this. I looked better on taking 1 milligram of 8X every other day. I looked better on that than I did pushing Letro for the next 2 shows. I looked worse on Letro. We dropped the 8X and started Letro, and I looked worse.
See, this
100%. I agree.
This is the thing, though. Like, Stephanie, you said you were taking EQ or something. That makes a little more sense. But if you're not taking any drugs that aromatize, I mean, I feel like Nolvadex would get the job done. Like, for instance, I'll throw a couple coaches out there that are known for, training females. Like Johnny Diesel, Casalina, a lot of these guys, they're using Nolvadex, but they're also not using drugs that aromatize. They're using Anavar, Winstrol, maybe a low dose of Masteron at the very most. But I feel like when you're not using anything that aromatizes, I feel like you're just going to fuck a girl's hormones up using something like a Arimidex or Letrozole.
So personally with my clients, I only let them take something like 8X the last 10 days. I don't push it for weeks on end. And again, it's 1 milligram every other day. I don't think that it's something that should be taken daily. I think it's actually counterproductive.
Yeah, it'll just flatten the girl out, I feel like. I don't know.
Can I ask you, Stephanie, what was the dose of Letrozole? Is he using the full 1 milligram?
2.5.
Oh, the full 2.5 pills daily?
Every day.
Holy I can't even do that for 4 days. I'll be depressed. And I'm a man.
It wasn't even a depression. It was literally like I was mental fucking basket case Looney Tunes.
Okay. Well, another question.
Okay. It's a darkness that you can't describe.
Despair. The feeling of despair, right?
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, you'll have an anxiety attack. And then 5 minutes later, you want to kill yourself. And then 10 minutes later, you're laughing. And then the next day you're perfectly fine. And then you're crying. Like, it's so up and down and all over.
But the thing about Letrozole is, unlike Aromacin, Arimidex is also, it's an enzymatic inhibitor. I'm curious, when you guys have done these long Letrozole runs or 10 days or whatever, after them, does your estrogen go back, or do you have
Oh yeah, you definitely rebound hard when you come off Letro.
But I don't know if the rebound's because of the diuretics or the estrogen.
It's everything. You're rebounding from eating like shit because you've been starved. You're rebounding from the diuretics. You're getting edema, and then now all of a sudden your estrogen levels are rising again. It's everything.
I have a feeling that there may be sometimes permanent reductions or epigenetic changes in the expression of aromatase from that level of inhibition. Sorry, boss, what were you saying?
No, I'm saying it's like you're going from one extreme to another, because a lot of these chicks are not going to stay on a diet when they get off the show, right? Usually they're not going to even taper off the drug. So they go from this crazy extreme of 3 hours of cardio, massive T3 cleanse, all this shit. Then the show ends and they start eating normal food again, or they start eating even if they do stay on a bodybuilder diet and they just add some carbs in, even coming off these drugs, they all balloon up regardless. It's ridiculous.
And then they get myocardial edema in the heart.
I actually stayed perpetually flat.
Really?
Wow.
For weeks on end. Yeah, where I just couldn't fill out. And that was even before. Yeah, that was even before I trained with use Shelby for coaching. And that
has something to do now with your your insulin levels and what you're going through now.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Arimidex really did like I did half a milligram a day, for like 3 weeks or something for North Americans. And it worked really well for me, but I had, like I said, the depressive feelings. And then, for several weeks after, suicidal ideation, even though I won, like you should be happy, right? And I'm not
call it
like
post-show blues. It's not post-show blues. It's post-cycle blues.
It's not. And I actually, with the powerlifting, obviously I used PEDs for that, like guns blazing, but it was fun because you don't have to diet. You don't have to look a certain way. You just have to be strong. Right. And that's the fun stuff.
Yes. It's much fun. You guys, you bodybuilders are crazy. This is not pleasant. I don't know what you really.
No, but Aromacin was great for me. I had no issues on Aromacin. I was happy as a clam, strong, felt great, had no long-standing effects. And in fact, I used more drugs, harder drugs, beat the crap out of myself, worse powerlifting, and I quit doing everything 2 years ago. I retired. But I quit all drugs and everything, and my period came back within a month, and I hadn't had one for like years.
Wow.
Whereas I could quit doing drugs, bodybuilding, and my period wouldn't come back for months, and then I'd get one like every 2 weeks. And it was
because of the enzymatic inhibition of estrogen. I really think that's what it is.
Yes.
Aromacin is not an enzymatic inhibitor. It attaches to aromatase and it kills the aromatase. It doesn't inhibit the enzyme. When you inhibit the enzyme, you can cause epigenetic changes. I really predict that some of you, if you do a blood test, I bet you'll see your estradiol a bit low even 2 weeks later because the enzyme has to, it's a long story.
Well, yeah, your body has
like changes in methylation and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's kind of my wheelhouse. I'm a plant pathologist by trade. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Interesting. I look at genetics a lot also.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was a weird time in my life. And like I said, I kept my mouth shut about it because I get no benefit from dragging somebody through the mud. And
it's not about that though. I need people to understand that it's about bringing awareness. It's not about bashing anyone. It's not about pointing fingers or blame. It's about telling your truth and telling your story so that you might help save someone's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty much it.
Any way that he's feeling right now is nothing compared to those people's families, their children, their husbands. It's not even comparable. It's
So the woman that was backstage with Elena, her name is Vicky. I never knew who she was, never talked to her, didn't know she existed. She called me yesterday and bawled her eyes out for 45 minutes. She had very broken English. I could barely understand her. She is traumatized, devastated, has PTSD, and she can't go to sleep because she just keeps seeing what she saw over and over and over. She told me that she told me that Elena came out of the tent from, the touch-ups of tans, and she fell to the ground, and Vicky was there and kind of held her in her arms, and they were trying to revive her. They were pouring salt and water into her mouth. But Vicky said she was gone. She was lifeless. Her eyes rolled back in her head. She was gone. And then the water and the salt kind of did its job enough to where she came back too, and she stood up and she took a couple more steps and fell down again. And there were no medics on site, and it took almost an hour for an ambulance to get there. She didn't even make it to the hospital. She died in the ambulance. Why are the promoters not speaking out about this?
Here's the other issue with that. If people don't understand the pharmacology of these drugs, which I will admit, I better than most people understood when I did it. And that's why I hold myself partly responsible, because when I would get handed something or told to take something that I knew was not probably the best idea, and I said, I don't know about this, but again, I got 4 or 5 reasons why I should. And in that manipulative, that state where you're easier to manipulate, I don't know. I don't want to pass the buck. But
no, he said women are more coachable to me. That's why he coaches women. He said they're more coachable.
For the average athlete that does not understand biochemical pathways and does not understand the pharmacology of these drugs, and you have them take prescription medications that may, you know, like aldactone makes you expel sodium or whatever, but you don't understand that. How do you tell when you're in a disoriented state, medical professionals, I took this, this, and this, and half the time medical professionals don't even know. They got to get out their Merck manual, and at that point you're fucking dead. You know,
well, not
so
only
like,
that, then you have like the drug interactions, like she was on blood pressure medicine. She was probably doing other things, you know, that we don't know about and that Shelby probably didn't know about. And that is our responsibility, obviously, to let our coaches and let people around us know, like, but I could go next door and knock on my neighbor and ask him every drug that he takes and if he knows what they all do and why he takes them, and he probably wouldn't know.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
But there's another step to it though, right? There's knowing the pharmacology, but there's also knowing how kidneys function, how the heart functions, how when you have a high heart rate for a period of time, you can develop an arrhythmia that will stay with you for life, or you can develop fibrosis, scar tissue in your heart. Your heart can remodel the left ventricle. This will happen for sure if you take 100 micrograms of T3 with clenbuterol and exercise. Within 8 weeks, you'll have changes in your heart. He may not know that himself, but for sure his clients don't know that. So this is like a really like irresponsible kind of behavior where
I think it's more like the motto, like ignorance is bliss until someone dies. And that's why we're having this conversation, because someone died.
Yeah.
Well, and we've already talked, it's not just him, right? I have a dear friend who's sort of in that circle who was using a different coach, and I don't remember exactly who it was. They switched to a different coach and ended up doing much better, but he sent me this list of his protocol asking me, you know, the thing that you do when you send people lists and you're like, I need to get these things. And I looked at it and I was like, hey, are you sure about this? He goes, well, yeah, you know, because he said I need to do this at this. I'm like, I can't in good conscience, because you are my friend, help you with this. It was that bad. I had to draw the line. It was that bad. I was like, I can't be a part of this. Like, this is terrifying. This list of drugs for a male bodybuilder was terrifying.
In terms of the diuretics or the androgens or everything,
all of it.
Because the most dangerous thing acutely is the heart issues and the diuretics. And this guy's doing both the diuretics and crazy focus on the heart rate. And apparently, by the way, we heard from Stephanie, he doesn't tell people to measure their heart rate. They don't have Oura rings. They don't have the eye. He doesn't ask them to check their heart rate. So you literally do not know if your resting heart rate is 120 beats per minute, which if it is, it's just a ticking time bomb. And if you don't die, that's the thing that strikes me the most is not, when you told me the story just now, Stephanie, of the lady dying, I mean, it really broke my heart. I can't imagine seeing that. Maybe if it's a man, it's different, but a woman dying like that is very heartbreaking. But
I've personally never seen a dead body, let alone it happening right in front of me and me holding it. Like, I can't imagine what this Vicky woman is feeling and going through. And it's just astonishing like that. There were no medics on site. It took that long for the ambulance to get there. The promoters haven't said a freaking word.
Well, that's one of the questions we got. Reg says, does the Manion cult even care about people dying in the sport they control? It's quite easy. They didn't do anything about Mandis, the guy who was preying on women. It's easy for them to say, hey, your coach was Shelby, don't attend. You're not welcome in the shows. And that'll be it. That'll be done. His killing spree will be over.
Stephanie sent me something today from a post from Luke Wood, who said we need to stop... which I completely disagree with, because I'm going to say why I disagree. He said we need to stop judging based on conditioning, basically saying that we need to stop making conditioning such a strong point. You could get
I disagree.
You can get in shredded condition without killing yourself 100% with nutrition.
But not everyone, because genetics do come into play. You know,
if you don't have the genetics, you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be going.
Well, I think that's where then the coach pushes or the client pushes to look like, let's say, I'm just going to say Michaela Aycock, right? She gets shredded, peeled, zero visceral fat. You know, you look at that and you're like, I want to do whatever she's doing to look like that. You know, and she might not be taking a ton of diuretics or a ton of things, but that doesn't mean my body is going to respond the same way. And if I tell my coach I want to look like that, then is my coach going to prescribe whatever it takes to look like that?
Oh,
well, that's what he said about Alina. He said she held water. He said that.
Everyone holds water. Our body is what, 60% water?
Yeah, but I mean, he was like pointing it out like she held her.
You say like, you know, what are you going to judge shows on then? Are you just going to award the people that aren't in shape? That doesn't make sense. You can get in shape and not kill yourself. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, if you don't have the genetics and you have to literally kill yourself with T3 and Clen to get in contest shape, you shouldn't be doing this. You should be doing something else. You know,
there was a lady who contacted me and said that she literally froze on stage in a front double and they had to carry her off. In her front double. They carried her off in her front double pose because she couldn't move. Her body crimped, her whole body froze and crimped up.
All she needed was the heart cramp and she'd be dead. That's so horrible. And the worst part is not just these stories of the deaths, which are so traumatic, even just to listen to them. It's really sad. But the thing is, how many kidneys were harmed? How many? Is it 600, 800?
I don't think people think about that.
No, that's crazy. I'm thinking about it because I'm thinking like if he has 400 clients right now, maybe he's had 2,000 clients historically. At least 200 of them have acute kidney injury and probably don't know about it. We could say 600 maybe. With these kind of if these kind of protocols, everybody has some kind of damage to their heart or kidney.
Yeah, most people do have at least stage 2 kidney failure and they don't even know it because they don't get blood work.
That's crazy. This is
well. I also had someone say to me, "I was told to get blood work. I got it, but then he never asked to see the results."
I bet he doesn't even know which biomarkers to order. To be honest with you,
he doesn't care. He just doesn't care.
He doesn't care, and I don't even know if he knows.
Care for 400 people. I mean, he just doesn't care. He's reckless.
Well, this was, by the way, the most eye-opening conversation I've ever had.
Leo, to be honest with you, and everyone listening to this. I thought he was bad because I've seen protocols from people that sent it. But now that I'm hearing 2 females that have worked with him, this is worse than I even fucking imagined. I don't.
That's why I'm so overwhelmed because my DMs it's astounding. I think what I'm going to do at this point, I went live with a couple of these women who want to tell their story and I'll continue to do that. But I think at this point, I'm just going to screenshot these DMs and block out their names and post them because people need to see that this isn't just me that happened to. It's not just Jodie. It's not just this caller. It's not just a couple people. I'm at like probably 100 people now. I can't even keep track. I'm exhausted.
You know, you're not just going to protect people from it happening from Shelby, but women are going to start to learn about the dangers of diuretics and learn to watch out for that.
That is my entire purpose in all this. This is not about Shelby completely or at all. Like it's about being able to recognize something and know that it's fucking wrong.
Yeah, and we have to focus both on the diuretics and the things that affect the heart rate, clenbuterol and T3. Those are the two that...
I know for a fact many of Shelby's clients that are pros are also coaches, and they're going to learn from Shelby. They're not going to get... It's a branch effect, okay? So you got this one guy who's the supposed top coach, works with all these pros. Most pros are coaches. They're going to follow the same similar protocols that their coach does. So this is a tree effect. Yeah, it sprouts from Shelby, but this shit's going to get spread everywhere in the female bodybuilding community. So that's why I think it's important.
And that's where it's bro science because nobody knows what they're actually putting on paper. It worked for them. So it might work for their client. So we'll test it out. Exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
You know, this guy actually sounds, because I've heard stories of Dan Duchesne doing freaky stuff to women, all kinds of weird things with medications. I mean, well, also there's a lot of things, but I think this guy may be doing more extreme things, or at least on a more massive scale. He's harmed more women's bodies than Dan Duchesne did. And Dan Duchesne got a woman's legs cut off. You know, he took her to Mexico to do a crazy thing, convinced her she needed implants, and then she had the legs cut off, amputated. But this guy may have harmed more because of the level of heart damage and kidney damage over hundreds
and number of deaths,
deaths, yeah. But
what's crazy to me is the lady that was 21 years old, it was her debut, and she won. And someone messaged me and said, "You win some, you lose some." He lost one at Spain and he won one at Spain, and I was just like.
He had the audacity to post that too. He posted about the win. I couldn't believe that. Leo, literally hours after this chick dies, he posts that he has somebody that just won a show.
I think he didn't realize people would find out. He was very distraught when he talked to me. He was like, people are commenting on my thing, a lot of nasty comments, and he was very concerned.
Yeah, he went through and deleted the comments, turned off the comments, and then now he's blocking people, which is fine. You know, there's going to be hate. I've got hate from this. I've got his little minions coming after me. But
how could you get hate? Your video was so responsible. Because, I mean, you didn't even blame him. You said
again, there's blind loyalty because it hasn't happened to them. So they think that the responsibility is solely on the athlete and not on the person writing the protocol.
Well, they should come listen to this, because what I'm trying to say about the kidney and heart damage, by the way, just to be clear, is there are going to be women dying at 60 instead of 80 because of this. They won't feel it now. When they get to 60 or 50, maybe 55, you see a lot of bodybuilders dying 45, 50, some female bodybuilders. A lot of them got the damage earlier, and it just doesn't show yet. It doesn't go away. The kidney never recovers. It's kind of
like smoking a cigarette. Like each cigarette takes off X amount of minutes of your life.
It's much more than that. It's like yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's you can do this thing for 2 weeks, and it's going to take at least 20 years off your life. If it's the heart, you're going to have damage. I read a lot about the heart and kidneys because I'm a hypochondriac, and Bostin has kidney damage. So we read a lot about it. I mean, you're talking about even just marathon running, like ultra marathons. Ultra marathon runners have fibrosis in their hearts. They die usually young because of that. This is way worse.
Too much stress on your heart.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Mary Christine, they told her she should start looking at maybe getting on a transplant list.
Another lady? So there's a second one?
There was another lady who told me that she has, what is it, AFib, and she has something that they put in her, and it releases whenever her heart rate gets too high or something to help control it from all of this.
So that's what I was saying would happen. I was saying if you keep your heart rate elevated, you do the cardio, you're going to get an arrhythmia. That's atrial fibrillation. That's what will happen. I bet you that's happened to more than one girl. We just don't know about it. It would be very common. Like that's what Palumbo has that, for example. He used to abuse clenbuterol for a long time. But on a girl that's smaller, taking that with the thyroid, with the ephedrine, and then doing cardio, that is reckless.
I also want to touch on the fact that so I woke up to a message from him today, and he was, obviously kind of defending himself in the sense that he was like, I didn't know she had cancer. I didn't know that she passed out. I didn't know this. I didn't know that.
Cancer has nothing to do with that.
And then within minutes, I actually had someone come forward and tell me that they know one of his clients who's out here doing cocaine and shrooms and recreational drugs. And I'm thinking, does he know that? Does he know that? Because he's writing these protocols, and I'm sure her protocol is similar to Elena's or all these other ones, and she's out here doing cocaine and all these other drugs.
Well, how can you know that if you have 480 clients? It's not, you can't know that.
Well, and what client is this going to willingly be like, yeah, I do cocaine so I don't eat, on top of the Clen, on top of the ephedra, on top of all the other shit. So she might be next.
To be honest with you,
Leo, please enlighten me on what a blood pressure medication would have to do with his death. There's no interaction with blood pressure meds.
There's no interaction with the cancer or the blood pressure medication. He says she has an arrhythmia. She could have gotten the arrhythmia from doing the protocol if it had the Clen and T3. It could happen very fast. This stuff honestly is horrific. Horrific.
But wait though, if I'm a coach and somebody tells me they have a history of blood pressure problems or they have an arrhythmia, then the alarm in my brain says, don't tell this person to do clenbuterol on T3.
Well, he claims he didn't know. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He claims her friends told him the day after. But Stephanie pointed out that he knew one thing. I don't know that she passed out. Stephanie said he knew that she passed out. He said he didn't know.
No, not that she passed out, but that the show that they did together in Portugal 5 or 6 weeks ago, that she took diuretic and wasn't feeling well and was cramping and told him that. And he admitted to me in a conversation. I have the message. I've screen recorded it and sent it to Blue. He said I should not have let her do this show.
Oh my God, this is crazy. How does he not quit? If he has any self-respect, he apologizes and quits.
Well, that's the thing, Blue. Just like Blue said, where was he when the first chick died? Where was he when he just wanted to stay quiet and hope that nobody fucking said a thing. He didn't even make an RIP post for his other deaths. He didn't even make a post about it.
Well, this is, you guys buzz killed my evening. I am depressed. I'm going to go sit by myself and reflect on death. Really depressing, but I got to thank you. I don't know the other lady's name, but thank you, Stephanie. And I don't know if you want to say her name, but if you don't, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you guys for.
I would prefer to remain anonymous.
Yeah, we'll keep it that way. But just to remind everyone, diuretics can kill you very quickly. When you are dehydrated, even when it's done safely on stage, you're harming your kidney. But if you're not doing it safely and you're doing it for weeks, you're acutely harming your kidney. It may never recover. You should do an ultrasound of your kidney to see if you have glomerulosclerosis or other damage. And you should do blood tests with Cystatin C, symmetric dimethylarginine, and creatinine. Not just creatinine. Do all three so you can see what your kidneys are really functioning at. The only way you can know if you damage your heart is to do a heart, not ultrasound, but an fMRI. You sit in a machine for 4 hours hours, they give you adrenaline, they give you various things, they see how your heart, they get a detailed picture of your heart, and you can see if you have fibrosis, if your left ventricle is enlarged, if there's less elasticity there, and you can get an idea. You won't know otherwise. I'll tell you won't know until it hits you when you're 50 something. Or 60 or 70. God forbid. I hope that it never happens to either of you. And the heart can remodel, but the kidney can't. The heart can remodel. If you use beta blockers, block adrenaline, the opposite of clenbuterol, it could potentially remodel over about a 10-year period. But the kidneys can't. So the damage of killing potentially 4 people indirectly, I think, what do they call that when you kill someone unintentionally? Manslaughter?
Involuntary manslaughter.
Involuntary manslaughter. And then, you know, the maybe hundreds of people that have had their health damage.
Attempted murder.
Whoever watches this video, please go warn other female competitors, not just about the gentleman, or not gentleman, the Shelby, but also more particularly about the dangers of these drugs, these heavy dose drugs. They don't need to be using multiple diuretics at the same time.
Yeah, because he's just the one that's catching all the shit right now, right? Because at this point, it's been enough gals that have passed away, but there will be someone that will replace him, you know, and there are people out there probably giving harsher protocols to people. I know it's hard to imagine, but it
or not
sure
even
happens.
like you were just telling me that you were taking 0.5 milligrams of 8x, and that's something I can tolerate. I tolerate a lot of drugs. I can tolerate a lot more than some people. So it's not a one size fits all kind of thing.
Of course not. Yeah. Because your metabolism and your own body, everyone's different. But there's nobody gonna need the loop diuretic with the diazide with the aldactone for weeks. This is nobody. That's
Letrozole every day. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but letrozole not just gonna affect their psychology. The other thing is gonna harm them for life.
No, I know, but even for mental health, just like Stephanie was saying, a chick was slitting her throat, her wrist, and he still let her go on stage. Like, this kind of shit is ridiculous.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining. Boston, we were going to review the Texas Pro and the other stuff. I think we spent an hour.
We'll do it, We'll
do it later, huh?
That show sucked anyways.
Yeah, I have a lot of... Tyler judged it. I want to comment on that. Oh, and the last thing. For the responsibility of the IFBB, they should look out for people, for God's sake. You guys paid dues. They hear these things. They hear about Mandis. They hear about this gentleman. I mean, maybe he's not doing it intentionally, but people are dying.
So what rules could they implement? How can this change? How can the IFBB have a role in this when it comes to competitors stepping on stage that could potentially have a heart attack? I competed with a woman named Patty Hansen, and I literally watched her pass out on stage twice at Tampa and Chicago.
Do you know that there are other athletic organizations actually do health tests? Now, maybe the IFBB can't afford that, but if you saw a competitor pass out, maybe you can investigate. There aren't that many competitors. I mean, you can go in and learn about the situation, find out what happened. Or if you see somebody has died under a coach, maybe you go investigate that coach and bar him from participating in the IFBB. His clients not allowed. One death, you're out. You know, there's a lot of things you could do. I mean, these guys are a family, you know, there's Tyler, his father, his grandfather. They can talk and they can figure it out. They have enough money. If they care about the athletes, people shouldn't be dying. Forget about the kidney damage and the heart damage. 4 deaths. I didn't believe it. He told me 2 deaths. This is crazy.
They're listed as a nonprofit organization. And we already know they're making a killing. So what they could do is all that money that they're profiting, they could just use that as a write-off since they're saying they're nonprofit and they break even every year. They could just do that.
For God's sake, people should like, I know nobody wants to be political.
Period. Something needs to change. Well, something needs to happen. It does.
It's just, it's not super cut and dry, right? It could be a slippery slope because I know, you know, my boyfriend would coach people and tell them not to take certain drugs and stuff for powerlifting. And then they get to the meet and they're shaking like, you know, a leaf on a tree. And he's like, what are you doing? Well, I took some Anadrol. He's like, I told you not to take that. I always felt like I needed it because I always take it. You know, so there's like the burden of proof. Who does that fall on? If the athlete goes above and beyond what the coach told him to do, and then they croak, and then it's like what the coach is like, well, I didn't tell him to also take the diazide. I just told him to take that. You know, it gets difficult to enforce or prove, I think. I mean, something has to change.
You're right, but not in this case. So maybe I was wrong about saying 1 death. Maybe 1 death could be accidental, but 2, maybe the athletes are not following your directions, but you are a careless coach. You should be paying attention. If 2 people died under your, for God's sake.
That's what I'm saying. Like when you're writing out the protocol, you know right from wrong. You know this is enough to kill someone and you still hit the send button. Whether the
There's
coach
that.
or whether the athlete actually took that or took more than that, what you prescribed or recommended was still too much.
Exactly. This is crazy.
And then I think the takeaway is that if anybody that's listening, that there have been lots of instances and lots of people that will stand up and say, I looked better when I took less drugs. The best I ever looked, I was on XYZ. I can't even count those people on all my fingers and toes. And then they're like, well, and then I did a bunch of this, and this, and I looked terrible. So drugs and side effects do not equal efficacy and success. I think that's the main takeaway, right? Like, exactly. Just because you feel horrible doesn't mean it's working better. It's probably an alarm.
Good point. Any last words, Blue Boston?
No, not really. I mean, just hopefully people, I just hope people listen to this or the word gets across. That's all I hope for.
What should I title this video? I have no idea what to title it. It's such an impactful, deep video.
Dr. Kevorkian.
I was trying to think of a nickname for him because, those unfortunate people, they call Chad Nichols the kidney killer or something, which is really undeserved compared to this character. This character is like, I don't know, the kidney heart killer, literally, I don't know. I have to come up with a name later. Anyway.
I just think this should be more of like an educational piece instead of like bashing him, because again, it's not just him. And we're just trying to spread light and awareness and give people hope, you don't have to do this just for a freaking placing. There's life after this. What are you going to do after this? You can't compete forever.
Yeah, but chicks that are currently working with him, getting ready for shows, I mean, I hope that they listen to this and
they won't. It's like a cold, that.
If they stay with him, that's fine, but just don't listen to his diuretic protocols, please.
Yeah, the diuretic.
What I'm saying, there just needs to be an awareness about it. Like, now you're aware. The information is out there. Now you know. Because now you can choose to be ignorant.
Yeah, you're right. Thank you guys so much. This was really educational for me as well.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.